I'm 83 years old. My name is Laura Grace, and for 15 years I've lived completely alone. My children think it's sad. My friends ask if I'm lonely. Everyone assumes I'm waiting for something better. They don't understand. Living alone gave me 9 benefits nobody talks about. 9 things I never had in 68 years of marriage and motherhood. Benefits that sound impossible until you experience them yourself. Because I thought being alone meant being lonely, meant that I failed, meant something was wrong with me. But I was wrong. Living alone didn't take things from me. It gave me 9 specific things I'd never had before. Things I didn't even know I needed. Things that transformed the scariest chapter of my life into the best one. If you're living alone now or facing it someday, or wondering what actually happens when everyone leaves and it's just you need to hear this. Because these 9 benefits aren't what anyone told me to expect, and they changed everything. At first, there were these certain phrases everyone kept saying to me. My children, my friends, even strangers. You must be so lonely. Don't you miss having someone around? Wouldn't you be happier with company? Like living alone was a problem that needed fixing, a gap that needed filling. I believed them at first. Spent the first year after Vincent died trying to prove I wasn't alone. Joined groups I didn't care about. Accepted invitations I didn't want. Kept the house full of noise and activity because I thought that's what I was supposed to do, what normal people did. But slowly something shifted. One morning I woke up and realized I'd slept until 8:30 just because I could. Made breakfast at 10. Had dinner at 4:30 because I was hungry then. Nobody to coordinate with. Nobody's schedule to accommodate. Just mine. That was the first thing I discovered about living alone. You get to be exactly who you are. For 46 years, I'd shaped myself around Vincent, around the children, around what was needed. Woke when they needed me awake. Ate when meals were expected. Went to bed when the house was finally settled. Never asked myself what I wanted, what my rhythm was, what felt natural to me. But living alone, I discovered I'm a morning person. Really discovered it. Like to be up early when the light is soft. Like my coffee on the porch watching the birds. Like silence in the mornings. Not radio, not television, just quiet. Seems small, but it's not. For the first time in my life, I was living on my own rhythm, not accommodating, not compromising, just being. I eat dinner at 4:30 now, sometimes 4, whenever I'm hungry. For years, I waited until 6 because that's when families eat dinner. That's when Vincent expected it. But there's no Vincent anymore, no children to feed, no schedule but mine. So I eat when I'm hungry, go to bed when I'm tired, wake up when my body's ready. These small permissions became my life, a life lived on my own terms. I also discovered what I actually like, what I actually prefer. Turns out I don't like small talk, never did. Spent years making it because that's what you do, what women do, what mothers do. But I don't like it. Prefer silence to empty words. Prefer one deep conversation to 10 shallow ones. Discovered I think better when I walk. Always have. But never had time to just walk for thinking. Now I walk most afternoons. Not for exercise, for clarity. Work through things in my head. Come home understanding what I didn't before. Discovered I like mornings better than evenings. Cool weather better than warm. Reading better than television. Prefer being outside to being inside. Prefer writing to talking. Prefer quiet to noise. These sound like small things, but they're not. They're the architecture of a person. the foundation of who you are, and I'd never taken the time to notice, to ask, to pay attention. Living alone forced me to, because there was nobody else to shape myself around, just me, learning who me actually was, and that discovery, that slow unfolding of self. It was like meeting someone I'd always known but never paid attention to. The second thing I discovered was the peace, real peace, not the absence of noise, but the presence of calm. I sit on my porch most evenings now. Just sit, listen to birds, watch the light change. Nothing is happening, but everything is happening. My thoughts settle, my body relaxes. I remember things I'd forgotten. The smell of my mother's kitchen, the way my father's hands looked holding a newspaper, the sound of rain on the roof of our old house. Small memories that only come in stillness. For years, peace felt like failure, like something was missing. I'd fill every moment, keep busy, stay productive, because sitting still meant you were lazy, unproductive, wasting time. But now I understand. Peace isn't empty, it's full. You just have to sit still long enough to notice. I used to keep the television on all day. Background noise, company, even when I wasn't watching, even when it was just commercials, because the silence felt too heavy, too loud in its own way. One morning the power went out, stayed out for 6 hours. I sat in that silence, and at first it was unbearable, too quiet, too still. My thoughts were too loud, too present. But after an hour, something shifted. The silence stopped feeling empty, started feeling peaceful. I noticed sounds I never heard before, the clock ticking, the house settling, birds outside, my own breathing. When the power came back on, I didn't turn the television on right away, just sat a little longer in that quiet. Now I rarely turn it on at all. Only when I actually want to watch something. The silence has become my companion, not my enemy, a space where I can think, feel, remember, process without distraction, without escape, just being with myself. And let me tell you something, that peace saved me. On days when I felt like I had no reason to keep going, I'd sit on that porch and that silence would hold me together. The third thing living alone gave me was control, complete control over my space, my environment, my things. Last year, I painted my bedroom yellow, bright yellow. My daughter visited while I was painting, said it was garish, too loud, too much, suggested a nice beige instead or soft gray. I painted it yellow anyway. It's my room. My house, my eyes that see it every morning, and I love it. Wake up to that yellow and feel happy. Vincent would have hated it, would have talked me out of it, would have said it was impractical or too bold or not appropriate for someone my age. But Vincent's gone, and I get to choose now. I've arranged my furniture exactly how I like it, keep the house exactly how I want it. Sometimes that means clean. Sometimes that means leaving dishes until morning. Sometimes that means books stacked on every surface. Sometimes that means clutter. My choice. Nobody else's. Nobody commenting. Nobody suggesting. Nobody rearranging. Just me, living in a space that reflects who I actually am. This is going to sound ridiculous, but I bought a bright red couch last year. Completely impractical. Shows every speck of dust. Doesn't match anything. But I wanted it. Saw it in a store window. Couldn't stop thinking about it. So I got it. My oldest said it was too bold, that it clashed with everything else. But I don't care. I sit on it every evening. Still makes me smile. That freedom to choose, to make decisions without consulting, without compromising, without justifying. It's intoxicating. Never had that before, not even as a child. Always had to consider someone else, what they wanted, what they needed, what they'd think. Now I just consider myself, and that's enough. The fourth thing I discovered was space, physical space, emotional space, mental space, space to think, to feel, to just be. When you live with someone, even someone you love, there's always an awareness of their presence, their needs, their moods, their energy. You can't fully relax, can't fully let go, can't completely be yourself. There's always a part of you that's performing, managing, accommodating. But living alone, I can stop performing, can walk around in my robe all day if I want, can cry without explaining, can laugh at something on television without sharing why, can be sad without someone trying to fix it, can be happy without someone questioning it, can just exist without performing existence for someone else. That space became sacred, became where I healed, where I grew, where I found myself again. I didn't realize how much energy I'd been spending, just managing other people's feelings, other people's needs, making sure Vincent wasn't lonely, making sure the children felt loved, making sure everyone was happy. But I never made sure I was happy, never even asked if I was. Now I ask every day, am I happy? Am I content? Am I at peace? And most days the answer is yes. And that question, that simple question, it changed my life. The fifth thing living alone gave me was better relationships. Sounds backwards, but it's true. When you're not constantly surrounded by people, the interactions you do have become more meaningful. I see my children less now than I did right after Vincent died. But when I do see them, it's better. I'm not desperate for their company, not calling them out of loneliness, not keeping them on the phone longer than they want to stay. So when we're together, it's because we want to be, not because I need them to fill a void. That changes everything, makes it lighter, easier, more real. My daughter Linda visits once a month now. We sit on the porch, drink coffee, talk, not about obligations or schedules or what needs doing. Just talk about her life, about mine, about nothing and everything. And when she leaves, I don't feel empty, don't feel abandoned, feel full from the conversation, from the connection, because it was real, not forced, not obligatory. My friendship with my sister Jean deepened too. We talk once a week, really talk, not obligatory check-ins. She tells me about her life. I tell her about mine. And because I have a life, have things happening, have thoughts and observations from my days, I'm not just reporting loneliness. I'm sharing actual experiences. The walks I take, the books I read, the things I notice. Our conversations are richer now, more balanced, more real, because I'm not a burden she has to manage. I'm her sister, her friend. You know what surprised me the most? That loneliness came from being needed, not from being alone. I was lonelier in a marriage than I am in solitude. The sixth thing living alone gave me was confidence, real confidence, not the kind you fake, the kind you earn. I learned I could take care of myself, handle things, solve problems, learn to use a drill. Last year. Seemed silly at 83, but I wanted to hang shelves and was tired of waiting for someone else to do it. Watched a video online, bought a drill at the hardware store, came home and did it myself. The shelves aren't perfectly straight. One's a little crooked, but they're mine. I put them up. that feeling of capability, of not being helpless. It's powerful, especially when you've spent decades being told you need help, when everyone assumes you can't, that you're fragile, that you need protecting. But I don't need protecting. I can protect myself. Fixed a leaky faucet, changed my own light bulbs, learned to manage my own finances, figured out how to use the computer, how to pay bills online, how to navigate things I'd always depended on Vincent for, not because I had to, because I could. And discovering I could changed how I saw myself, not as someone who needed taking care of, but as someone capable, competent, strong, someone who could handle whatever came. That confidence spread to other areas, started speaking up more, saying no when I didn't want to do something, setting boundaries I never would have set before, because I'd learned I could survive on my own, didn't need to please everyone, didn't need approval, just needed to be myself, and that was enough. The seventh thing was rediscovering small pleasures, things I'd forgotten I enjoyed, things I'd stopped making time for. I started writing last year, nothing fancy, just thoughts, memories, things I notice, never written before, never thought I could. But one Tuesday morning, I had nothing to do and a blank notebook, so I started just to see what would happen. Now I write most mornings. Some of it's terrible, some of it's not, but it's mine, my voice, my thoughts on paper. Nobody reads it. Nobody needs to. It's just for me, and that's enough. I also started cooking differently, not for nutrition, not out of necessity, for pleasure. Make things I've never tried before. Experiment. Fail often. Don't care. Last week I tried to make bread. Came out dense and heavy. Inedible, really. But the process was lovely. The smell of yeast, the feeling of dough under my hands, the satisfaction of trying something new. I'll try again or I won't. Either way is fine. Started gardening too. Small garden in the back. Nothing fancy. But I grow tomatoes, herbs, a few flowers. Spend mornings out there. Hands in dirt. Sun on my face. Not because it needs doing. Because it brings me joy. That's what living alone gave me. Permission to try, to fail, to play without judgment, without having to explain, without someone wondering why I'm wasting time. Time doing things that make you happy is never wasted. The eighth thing I discovered was creativity, real creativity, the kind that needs space and time and permission to be bad at something while you learn. I'd never considered myself creative, never had time to be. But living alone, I started noticing I had ideas, impulses, curiosities, started following them, tried painting for a while, wasn't good at it, but enjoyed the process. Tried learning piano from YouTube videos, fingers too stiff, but it was fun trying. Started taking photographs on my walks. Nothing artistic, just things I noticed, things I wanted to remember. The point wasn't being good, wasn't producing something worthwhile, was just creating, exploring, playing like I was a child again, allowed to try things without needing to be perfect. That freedom, that permission to be bad at something, it's rare, especially as you age, when everyone expects you to be settled, fixed, done growing. But I'm not done, still learning, still trying, still discovering. Pay attention to this detail because it matters. When you stop trying to prove yourself to other people, you suddenly have the courage to try new things, things that might fail, things you might be terrible at, but you try them anyway because the stakes are different now. And now the ninth thing, and maybe the most important. See, when I was married, I was surrounded by people, but I was completely unseen. Living with someone who didn't know me, didn't ask, didn't wonder. Raising children who needed me but didn't know me. Being constantly around people but never truly connected. That was lonely. That was isolation. Now I'm alone most of the time, but I'm not lonely because I see myself, know myself, am myself, and that's enough. I have a neighbor, Sarah, who I get coffee with sometimes. We sit on my porch and talk, not about anything important, just life, her work, her daughter, things she's thinking about. I walk Emma home from school a few days a week. She tells me about her day, what she's learning, what she's worried about. Small connections, but real ones, chosen ones, not obligation, not duty, not filling time, just connection. And because I'm not desperate for it, because I'm okay alone, it stays pure, clean, easy, no resentment, no burden, no weight, just two people choosing to spend time together. That's the difference. When you're okay alone, relationships become choice, not necessity. And chosen relationships are always better, lighter, more honest, more real. That is the ninth thing, learning the difference between alone and lonely. They're not the same thing, not even close. I'm grateful for these 15 years alone, for learning I'm stronger than I thought, for discovering I like my own company, for finding that the life I was afraid to live became the life I never want to leave. One of my children reached out last month, asked me to stop making these videos, said people are talking, said it makes them uncomfortable. And I told them something I want to tell you now. This isn't about them. It's about the women watching who thought they were failing because they were alone, who thought being lonely in a marriage was better than being happy by themselves, who were told their entire lives that a woman without a man was incomplete. I'm here to tell you something different. You are complete, right now, as you are, alone. And that completeness, that wholeness, it's the most powerful thing you can discover. If this story reached you today, if you've been lonely in a full house, if you're afraid of living alone, if you're already alone and wondering if it gets better, leave a comment. Tell me. I read every single one, and I see you. You're not invisible to me. You're not a failure. You're someone learning to live on their own terms. And that takes more courage than anything else. If you want to sit with me again, I'll be here, still learning, still discovering, still perfectly content with my own company. Subscribe if you want to keep coming back. Every week I sit down at this table and I tell you the truth about aging, about living alone, about finding purpose and peace when the world tells you that's impossible. Because it's not impossible. It's just waiting for you to be brave enough to try it. Take care of yourself, whatever that means to you. And remember, being alone isn't something to fix. Sometimes it's something to celebrate. That's what I'm doing now, celebrating my own life. And you can too.